Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at the Warhammer 40,000 Metawatch. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Metawatch Warhammer 40,000, the first balance Dataslate and points update for 2024. New year, new balance. The first update of Warhammer 40,000 of 2024 is here, and there are some significant changes to both rules and points. Before we get into the meat of the meta, Josh and Lewis chat about the juiciest changes coming to tabletop near you. So I watched this video. There's not a ton there. We're going to go ahead and just take a look at the article and then skim through the actual points changes and rules. Since the last balanced Dataslate, which was first of the new edition, several huge tournaments have come and gone. 2 new codexes have joined the fray, and hundreds of thousands of games have been played at local game stores, on kitchen tables, and everywhere else. Each one brings new insights to balance, and the fruits of the labors are now ready to download right here. So we had the balanced Dataslate, which is rules changes, and then the Munitorum Field Manual, which is points changes. Eldari armies still sit above the ideal 55 win rate, and so there are further adjustments to the number of fate dice they start with, changes to phantasm stratagems, and a few targeted points increases. The intent is still to tweak a little at a time to ensure one change doesn't entirely flip their fortunes, and to reduce the reliability of certain powerful abilities. In contrast, their despicable Drukhari cousins have been doing less well for some time, and they now receive a much-needed boost, changes including updates to points and power from pain mechanics, and there's even Sky Splinter Assault, an all-new detachment, while Archons can now hire Incubi bodyguards. So there's a link here for that new detachment as well. This update is starting to look deeper into the balance, how units within a faction compare to each other, a number of battle line units that had their points lowered from lesser Chaos Demons to Space Marine Intercessors, while a wide assortment of indirect fire units such as Whirlwinds, Plague Burst Crawlers, and Night Spinners have had their points increased. These changes aim to encourage a greater variety of viable armies at the competitive level while ensuring the casual players aren't penalized for crafting characterful, if unoptimized lists. Lastly, new clarifications have been used to help readers recognize where the changes have been made. New changes are now marked with it's like a plus with a circle around it symbol, to differentiate them from the pink text used to mark rules changes from the original books, while points updates are color-coded to show whether they have increased or decreased. With the Deathwing Assault Army Box arriving in stores on Saturday, you might be wondering where the points are for units like the Inner Circle Companions, as Codex Supplement Dark Angels isn't on the shelves for a few more weeks. Its rules aren't official for match play yet, and so the points don't appear here. But rest assured, there'll be another update to the Munitorum Field Manual when the Codex is released. Stay tuned. Alright, so here we see the faction and win rate. Eldari still on top with 56, tied with Necrons at 56, so both just a little too good. And then we have Leagues of Votann and Chaos Space Marines at 54, Space Wolves, Chaos Knights, Orcs at 52, and then Adeptus Sororitas and Thousand Suns at 51, Death Guard at 50, Tau Empire and Adeptus Astartes at 48. And then we see Dark Angels, Genestealer Cults, and Custodes at 47, Grey Knights, Deathwatch, and Mechanicus, as well as Chaos Demons at 46, and then Imperial Knights and Tyranids, Astra Militarum, Drukhari, and Blood Angels all at 45. So overall, pretty decent balance. Obviously, a couple of overperformers, and we do see quite a few falling at the bottom. Still within that acceptable range, but a little on the weak side. And hopefully Games Workshop has adjusted the points and rules accordingly. And then there's also a rules commentary being updated to answer questions about transports arriving from reserves, which modifiers are ignored by certain unit abilities, and other fringe cases. So we've got 4 different links basically in this document. So just jumping over here to the balanced Dataslate, we see that entries marked with the plus with circle around it have been newly added or revised since the previous iteration of this document. So if we just start right here, we'll see the red stuff was changed last time. And then if we just kind of scroll down a little bit here, we'll see for Adeptus Sororitas, we see that plus symbol, Triumph of St. Catherine, Relics of the Matriarch, Simulacrum of the Even Chalice. And then it talks about the actual changes. So just to keep it simple, we'll take a look at the Eldari one specifically. So Strands of Fate Army Rule, we know that they said they made changes to that. So we see the plus symbol. Change first sentence 2, if your army faction is Eldari, at the start of the battle, make a Strands of Fate roll by rolling 6d6. So they have decreased the number of Strands of Fate dice that you get. And then we see a couple more. We'll look at the Phantasm Stratagem because they specifically mentioned that. Change target effect section to target one Eldari infantry unit from your army. Effect, this unit can make a normal move up to a d6. It cannot embark within a transport at the end of this move. So we see now that it has been changed to infantry only. So these are going to substantially weaken Eldari and hopefully bring them back in line with what you would expect or what you want to see. And then let's just jump over here to Blood Angels. So we don't want it to be all negative. So Blood Angels have been struggling, obviously. So we see for them, the Red Thirst Detachment rule changed too. Each time an Adeptus Astartes unit from your army is selected to fight, if that unit made a charge move this turn, till the end of the phase, add 2 to the strength characteristic and 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in that unit. So we see that they have added not only to the strength, but also attacks now. So that should make all of your Blood Angels substantially stronger now on the charge. So lots of other changes. It's 4 pages of documents, but because of how everything's laid out, there's a lot to actually see here. We see lots of pluses. So make sure for like your own respective factions to pay close attention to that. Make sure that you're playing your own army correctly after these changes. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now back to the video. And next we're just going to jump over here to the Munitorum Field Manual. So basically if something went up in points, it's red, so it's bad because it costs more points now. If it went down in points, it's green because it's good. How it should be. We're not going to look at everything here. It's 34 total pages. We'll just look at the overall faction and some like standouts. So Adeptus Sororitas have been doing pretty well. We see Arcoflagellants, Exorcist, and Morven Vahl have all gone up in points. I think that makes sense. Everything basically indirect fire, Games Workshop's trying to target just because it's kind of a feel bad, especially if somebody spams it. So it makes sense the Exorcist went up. And then Morven Vahl is in every list. So if you want to basically like make the faction a little bit weaker, you just make something that everybody takes a little more expensive. And that's sort of been like counteracted by some of the other changes like the Paragon Warsuits going down, Zephyrim going down, etc. So overall, basically, unless you were spamming Exorcists, your points list probably not going to change much for Adeptus Sororitas. Next we see Custodes. They were very strong early in the edition. And then Games Workshop made some actual rules changes and they've been weaker. So now we see that their points have gone down. So Alaris Terminator's gone down, Custodian Guard gone down, Warden's gone down, Shield Captain on Jetbike gone down, and Virtus Praetors all gone down. So you're just going to get more in your army now. So that should definitely help out Custodes. So AdMech got their codex recently and still not performing all that great. And we see no changes to Adeptus Mechanicus. So kind of surprising. No changes to Adeptus Titanicus, but you're really not going to be playing like in tournaments probably with any of this unless you're like one of those random people who takes a Warhound Titan. All right, so next we have Eldari. Obviously, they've been strong. We talked about the indirect fire being an issue. So the Night Spinner has gone up to 210 points, and then Wraithguard have gone up to 190 and 380 for 10. But the rules changes are also really going to slow them down. And then obviously if you were spamming Night Spinners or Wraithguard before, on top of the rules changes, your army's going to get substantially weaker and hopefully be more in line with how they should be powered. No changes to the Agents of the Imperium. All right, and then for Astra Militarum, so we see the Mana Core has gone up to 180 points. Obviously Astra Militarum has a lot of indirect fire, so I'm kind of surprised to not see more changes than that. Like for instance, the Basilisk still at 135 and some of the other stuff, but we did see a lot of changes to that previously. And they do have a lower ballistic skill, so even if you do spam it, it's a lot less effective. But interesting to see only the Mana Core really get hit here. On to Black Templars. So we see Grimaldus went up in points. He was pretty much again in every list. And then Crusader Squad went up as well. And then of course High Marshal Halbrick. So again, like special characters that are in every list. And Crusade Squad's very, very good. So overall, they're going to be slightly worse. No changes to Blood Angel points, but they should get slightly better because of the rules changes. So we see a lot of changes to Chaos Demons. I'm not going to go through all of them, but for the most part, it's points reductions. So they should get much better. Games Workshop has addressed some of the main issues though, which was people taking Nurglings, especially as allies. So Nurglings have gone up in points, and then also Blue Scribes, same thing. They have gone up in points, but pretty much everything else has gone down. All right, so interesting move here on the Chaos Knights. So most everything has gone down in points on the Chaos Knights, except for the actual like War Dogs. We see the War Dog Brigand has gone up to 170, which is a massive hike. And then we see now there are no longer any 135 point War Dogs. So you're no longer going to be able to field 14 War Dogs. So it's going to be 13 max Knights for Chaos now, which is still good, don't get me wrong, but it's a big change. So we're definitely going to see different Chaos lists now, probably a little more diversity, which is good. All right, and then for Chaos Space Marines, for the most part, everything went up that changed. So Cursed Cultists went up, Chaos Lord went up, Chosen went up, Forge Fiends went up, Obliterators went up, Warp Talons went up, Lord of Skulls went down, and then Dark Commune went up. And then we see the Eye of Tzeentch also went up. So basically all the stuff that was getting spammed, if you were playing a Chaos army, probably like almost every unit in your army, at least the important ones, went up on this. So we should see Chaos be substantially weaker, or at least get a lot less, maybe like 1 or 2 less units. So Dark Angels had some changes. A lot of stuff got cut, but we might as well ignore this at this point in time because we know the codex is about to come out and they're going to get all new rules. So this really doesn't even matter. But technically, they went down in points. Deathwing Command, which is about to go away completely. Deathwing Terminators went down. Lionel Johnson went down. Black Knights went down. Command Squad for the Raven Wing, Dark Shroud, and Landspeeder Vengeance all went down. But again, it doesn't really matter. Let me know what you think of the balance and points changes. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. I'm sure there's some things that are obvious that I missed. A lot of you guys play a particular army and know it a lot better than I do. So let me know what you think some of the biggest changes are, or if somebody else mentioned them. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. Special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.